fly? Oh no.
She's softened.
Yeah, it's piss wet through.
Right then, welcome back to the channel and a new product development video today. So we are working on the Touareg 7P or T3 if you're in America. As you can see behind me, Harry's already done some 3D scanning. It probably gives you an idea what exactly we're working on today and what product we're going to be developing. If you're not sure, it is a snorkel. So this is something we have thought about doing for quite a while for these. Obviously we've got the snorkels for the earlier models and the KNs, but this is not just an aesthetic modification. We did actually take this to a 4x4 show, and despite the stewards on the day saying it's fine, it's not that deep, Rob specifically said, look, we ain't got a snorkel, are we going to be all right? And they sent him in, no problem. Luckily, we didn't have any kind of catastrophic failure, but the air filter was absolutely wet through. The airbox took in a lot of water, the engine took in a lot of water. We just stopped straight away, which probably saved the engine. We got it recovered out of the water.
That's Rob getting towed.
Took the glow plugs out, fired it up. Water was shooting about, what, 30 foot up into air, absolutely mad. Managed to get all the water out, started up, no problem at all.
Starting to get a bit oil now, isn't it?
We've now done probably a couple of thousand miles since then, and all seems good. So I think we've been quite lucky with that. Obviously, we don't want to push his luck more than once, so we've decided it's time for a snorkel. So, as we just mentioned, Harry's already put the 3D printing dots on there. That's just so that the scanner can pick it up better. That is what we've got so far. Being honest, we're not entirely sure what we're going to do with this yet. We're going to have to come up with something as we're going along, because the main problem we've got, we'll have a closer look when the airbox is out, but there's not much room at all to come out with a pipe on that wing. So we're going to struggle, but that's not stopped us before. We will proceed. So I'm not sure if you can even see down there, that's the arch like that, the felt arch liner. So there's not actually that much room in the wing to be able to come out, and obviously then we've still got to fabricate a snorkel to go up there. So I'm going to have a chat with Harry now. We'll try and come up with some kind of concept before we jump in head first. I suppose stick with us, watch the rest of this video, and you'll see how the development progresses. Right, what's the plan?
Well, we want to keep the airbox.
Keep the airbox.
I think the whole idea is to keep everything as factory as possible, so keep them out, keep everything. It's going to have to somehow come through the car. But
I think that's the only place that we're going to be able to get through, but it means we're going to have to get rid of that.
can't go down there.
No, because that's your wheel arch.
That's the wheel arch up there.
Yeah.
Well, that's not, is it? There's a gap, isn't there, before the arch starts?
How hard is it to get the wing off?
That wing? I guess not too bad. There'll be those. There'll be normally some underneath there.
Yeah, I think there's one here.
And probably on the front bumper. Then the wing will probably come off.
with most projects, you start off going in one direction and then end up doing a completely different direction. So this is not what we originally had planned, but we've decided to try and, rather than invent something completely new, take something that's already on the market and adapt that to work on the Touaregs. So there's a couple of reasons why we've done that. The first reason is the low demand for this actual product. So not a lot of people with these Touaregs are going to want to put an hole in the wing and run a snorkel. There's just not that many people doing extreme off-roading them to warrant putting a snorkel on there. So obviously that's one of the reasons. The second reason is cost. So because the demand's not there, there's going to be a low quantity that we're going to have to make, which makes the process and the development cost quite high if we're only producing, say, 5 snorkels. So we've ended up, this snorkel that we've got on here is actually from an Amarok. So we keep these on the shelf anyway. As you can see, Harry's already had to take quite a lot off the car to access this, so don't get me wrong, it's not going to be the easiest kit to install either. But I think the snorkel itself is a pretty good fit. Again, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. We've got a slight gap down the side because it doesn't quite follow the same lines on the wing. But I think once, that's obviously only taped on there at the minute, once we bolt it up, I think it will fit better. We've obviously got to make a bracket up here, which that's not a problem. Snorkel top. Fits on there still like that. So I think it looks pretty good, to be fair. So we're not completely there yet with this. We've still got to somehow figure out what we're going to do from this outlet on the back of the snorkel. Run it over this chassis leg. Well, not chassis leg, but structural part of the front end, I suppose. And then to, that's the air filter, so we need to get it to the other half of the airbox. So it'd be nice if we can keep the original airbox all intact. Possibly 3D print an adapter, because we are tight for space under here. We've got some fancy carbon material, so maybe we'll do it in that. And then, like I said, utilise the full airbox, which should make installation as easy as possible. So this is the route that we're going to be taking for this particular product. Obviously, once we've got this sorted, it will be on the website. If the demand's there, if we get loads of people in the comments saying, I don't want that one, I want a proper aluminium one, custom fabricated, similar to the other earlier Touaregs, the snorkel systems that we've done for those, then obviously we might look at developing, but the demand's got to be there for it to be worth doing that. So yeah, hopefully this will turn out all right. We'll let Harry crack on and we'll revisit later on. Bit more development on the Touareg Snorkel Kit. We've already done many prototype pieces that have been cut and adapted, and finally, you've probably just seen it on the printer, but we've got probably the final piece, or maybe version 1 of the final piece. I think Adam's just got a clip of this being fitted, but we thought we'd take it back off so you can have a closer look. But this is fully 3D printed. It fits on here, snug, and then straight onto the airbox. Just going to have a retaining bolt there just to make sure it's secure, and then can't remember the last time we updated on this video. I know we had the Snorkel mocked up on the wing. It's fully bolted up now. To be fair, the fitment, now it's actually bolted, is a lot better than I thought it was going to be when we were just eyeballing it. So really happy with how that looks. We'll get this wing off and the Snorkel now so we can actually see the full design of what's going on behind this wing, because that has been the most complex and the most difficult part of this project so far. So this is basically what is behind the wing, behind the scenes as such. 2-part, really snug fit. Obviously, because it is a Snorkel and we need it to be watertight, we're probably going to supply some silicone with this kit. 1 for all these joints, 2 for this bit that obviously goes on top of the airbox, just so we know it's completely sealed. But that on there, that is pretty much what's going off behind the wing. The Snorkel outlet or inlet goes straight into there. That's going to fit snug. So in theory, it should all work. So I've done this a little bit backwards. Let's get the wing back on, get it all plumbed up. The only thing we haven't done so far is the original cold air feed that goes into the front of the airbox. We need to get the airbox out, scan that and make a blank for the front. So I think for the time being, we're just going to blank that off temporarily. So we'll leave Harry to do that and we'll check back in when we're installing it all for the, hopefully, final time. Ooh. What did you forget?
Bada bing, bada boom.
So, I ended that video and then Harry politely said, actually, I forgot something. It's just finished on the printer. So we mentioned that this potentially could be restrictive from day to day. Not sure if you can still see it down here. Probably not, because we've got all the under tray back on. But the front of the airbox, we designed this as a solid blank, so that fits in the airbox. What would normally be the cold air feed to the front of the bumper. Obviously, it blanked off to make sure no water gets in. But then we also have done this, which has got a 57mm takeoff on it, so we can put a silicone pipe or something like that to reroute it to the front. And potentially you could run this on a day-to-day basis. It's still going to get the airflow into the airbox, still going to go through the filter. Obviously, it's not going to be as restrictive as it just coming through the Snorkel. And then, obviously, you get some water, you just put a blank on it, and happy days. So that is something else to test. We never know. We might find that the Snorkel is perfectly capable of letting enough airflow through. So this is a plan B. Maybe we'll use it. We'll definitely test it to see if it's worth doing. But I suppose you'll find out a bit later on in this video. So I am pleased to say we are now happy with the 7P Snorkel. We've been testing this on-road and off-road for the last couple of months now. I'll be honest, we haven't actually needed the Snorkel, but as mentioned, it is kind of a last resort. There's a lot of electrics on these modern cars, so you don't really want to be going through deep water, but if you do need to, for whatever reason, you've got a Snorkel on there, a little bit more peace of mind that it's not going to hydrolock the engine. Although, as I've just mentioned, we've not needed the Snorkel on this. A couple of weeks ago, we went to Parkwood. One of the guys that we know turned up in a pretty much standard Q7 3-litre TDI with some all-terrain tyres on. Absolutely sent it through a puddle and did the exact same as what Rob did in this at the Land Rover day. Unfortunately, instead of knocking it off like we did, because it didn't cut out straight away. So he thought the best thing to do was to rev through it. That didn't work, and it did completely hydrolock the engine. So that is a prime example as to why you should have a snorkel on there. That particular bit of water wasn't necessarily deep, but he just approached it way too quick. I think the water came up to, I don't know, six inch from the top of the bonnet, and like I said, just completely destroyed that engine now. If you've got a Touareg and you want one of these snorkels, they are now listed on the website. Hopefully you've liked this video and the development that we've done to produce this. If you have, click the like button, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.